Yeah, it's another rainy day. Got back from taking care of some issues upstate New York, closing up a friend's camp and doing some work along those lines. Some end of season maintenance on outboards, changing out lower unit oil and stuff like that. I always dump the lower unit gear oil as soon as I pull the boat out of the water if I can. And in that way, if there's any water down there, it gets removed, a fresh charge of oil put back in there, and the chances of having a freeze-related crack in the lower unit is much reduced if you've removed the chances of having water down there by dropping the lower unit oil and changing it. So I do that on the outboards we have up there. That 70 horse 3-cylinder Johnson I rebuilt a couple years back, and that 25 horse Evinrude got that treatment. But that meant I wasn't being able to spend time in the woods, so I'm a little behind on the logging, and I'm still kind of re-engaging. So I'm not out in the woods today. I guess I probably could. It's not raining that hard. But spent a little time down in Cortland at Leonard's yesterday. That was when I first got back. And ran a couple of my Williams Alco FAs around in circles for a little bit. And had Ed Brewer, one of the owners of that store, talk about the goings on they have with 3D printing. I think that's pretty interesting. That might be a direction I move at some point in the future. But to start this week, I think I need to just start by doing a couple of laps. This is where we ended up with the last train run. And also I have a couple of projects which have been frustrating. And the frustration isn't really hard related things. It's getting parts and hardware. That's been the frustration, is finding those. And the Weaver in particular, finding the hardware to attach the pickup rollers on the powered trucks and those long screws for holding the shell. They're like unobtainable. I can't find a source for them. So I'm going to have to innovate, I'm afraid. But before I get in there and start hacking, let's just bring this back to life and do a couple of loops, a couple of laps. Before we get crazy, this was that New York Central FM Trainmaster I had purchased up at the Syracuse train show a couple years back. It had a broken side frame, and I replaced it with Lionel because Williams didn't have those in stock, or Bachman. They both run pretty good once they warm up. But I'm sure that having no heat up here from time to time gets that grease a little bit on the, well, firmer side. So once it warms up, you know, it'll start easier, stuff like that. But the frustration I've had has been with parts. And this is going to be one I want to work on today, and maybe I have a solution. Now I've got the dummy right here, and notice the quality of the build on these. This is a Weaver. Look at the brass bushings they have there. You know, this is made to last. You know, and the things that are hard for me to find with this particular project is things like the long screws they have for the shells, and also the long screws to hold on the rollers, the pickup rollers on the powered trucks. So let's transfer over into the shop for a second. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff waiting to happen. This is that MTH. I need to take it apart and see what's going on there. Something's binding in there. But it also needs traction tires. Now I've run that a little bit. I've got this Camelback, and it's going to need some innovative electronics because it doesn't have any cards. So it's going to get a regulator rectifier, and I'm just deciding whether or not I have a remote control or not with this one. That's inside that box. Of course, this is what I was just talking about. And I mean, it's mostly intact, but I got a couple of those screws right there, those long ones. I've only got 2. I need more. And I don't see what I've got locally in the hardware stores that I can use as a replacement. So I've gone to the online, you know, eBay, the sources I usually go to, and there's nothing for Weaver. Just nothing. Even Train Z doesn't have stuff like this, you know. So I'm going to have to innovate on that. And then the other one is the screw that goes in that hole right there. For whatever reason, on these is smaller in diameter than the ones that are on my other locomotives. So that's going to be a problem because I can't find anything, even online, that has that smaller fine thread, but also has that length. Now I found these. This one here is too short, by the way. I found these, but they're a little bit larger and they have a coarser thread. So I think my solution I'm going to try is to see if I can, I got another set of rollers with the plastic. You really can't see it, but there's a plastic insulator. And I'm going to drill them open and then try to thread this roller here with a larger diameter screw and thread and see if I can make that work. That's going to be my solution. If it works, and that would be an M3 versus an M2. M2 in 1.25 inches are completely unobtainable, even on eBay. So let's see if I can make that work. So what I did is I had sourced some screws locally, and I got a drill and tap arrangement, and I kind of re-drilled that hole and tapped it to a size that I can actually get locally. And there's the tapped hole. Now I'm going to have to go back and drill the insulators after I see whether or not the screw actually threads into this. So that's what it looks like on top, and let's see what it looks like on the bottom. I think this concept is going to work. Yeah. It seems like it's on there. So I think the concept worked. Like, the only way we're going to know for sure is if we can test it and run it around the track. But I was able to get these screws and then this tap and die set from Lowe's. But these screws I had to order online. And I think I'm going to get some more with a different thread. I don't like the coarser thread, but we'll see. I mean, it may work just fine. So I've got at least 2 of these long screws. Let me just see if I can affix that shell and give this a test run and see what we have for a locomotive. Well, there it is. And this was the first Weaver Shark we got running a couple of days back, or a week or so back. Again, that's a Weaver as compared to the Williams I've got down here somewhere. Yeah, these are the Williams ones right down here. So let's see if we have a running locomotive. And maybe I'll have a Shark train run for tonight. Now I'm going to have to call that a success. And I think what I want to do is see if I can get this one to run the lower track. So we have a pair of Sharks. I lost my train somewhere. I have to go back and see what's going on there. But I think this is a enough of a video. That was a success right there. Now I need to find the rest of those body attachment screws. I need to formalize that concept of getting the right screws and the right tap. I think I worked that one out pretty well. I think I can do a little bit better if I do some more research online to find a source of those screws. But for now, I think that's going to work pretty good. Really, the only thing I'm missing on that locomotive is those longer screws for the shell. And I'm going to see if I can't come up with an alternative from, maybe like exterior decking type screws. See if I can find, or cabinet screws or something along those lines, where maybe I can turn down the excess amount of threads for something that might work. But for now, I'm going to go and see what happened to my train. I lost my train. Oh, there it is right there. See if I can figure out why that came apart. Yeah, it's not the locomotive, it's the cars. They can't handle the extra weight. So I'm going to have to get rid of them. Yeah, that thing's a beast. But see, these cars just pull right off the track. They don't have enough weight. Even with the rocks in them, they don't have enough. But these old Lionels, they pull heavy. So maybe I need to do something about them. Well, there it is. These are all Weaver branded sharks, and they run pretty well. They pull really hard. And I don't know if you looked when I had it apart, both of them have weights front and rear, little blocks of steel, chunk of bar stock that's been mounted to the chassis. So now I'm pretty happy with the way they run. And I also like the scale. They work pretty well on this, 027 scale layout that I have here. Yeah. So how many cars did I end up pulling here? Once I got some weight in the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 12, 13 cars. And that's about what I can pull without it coming off in the corners. Unless I put a whole bunch of weight in there. That works pretty good. So I guess now what I need to do is to find a dummy in New York Central colors. Kind of wonder if the Williams will fit up there. Maybe I should try that real quick. Yeah, the Williams is ever so slightly larger. And of course it has a different paint scheme. It's got the lightning stripe. They run really good too, the Williams. And yeah, there's slight differences in the casting on the trucks and stuff like that. But for the completion of the video, let me just run them all around in circles one more time. See if you can tell when it's in the back section the size difference. Yeah, you can tell. So, me finding a Williams B unit, or even a dummy A, even if it has the same paint scheme, is not going to work. I'm going to have to find another Weaver. But yet again, the Weaver seems to fit the scale a little bit better than the Williams Sharks, which are a little more close to O scale. So, anyway, I think that's enough for tonight.